Jesus is the way, the truth, and the... Oh, hold on.
All right. Hello, people, friends, acquaintances. I don't know. There's basically two people watching, and you know who you are. You know that, right? Anyway, so this is why do we suffer? So, like, is it God coming here to test us and make us better Christians? Because that's what we've heard our whole life, right? We've heard that God is here to, like, when bad stuff happens. So when we get cancer, sick, a friend dies, we get fired from our job, we're tight with finances and we can't pay our bills. You know, all those things that happen in life, like we're taught in the church that it's God testing us and it's God making us stronger and what are some of the other terms? There's a million other terms that I'm sure you can leave down in the comments below. Anyway, so why do we suffer? So first we need to identify God and Satan's job description. So the Bible's pretty clear about like who does what. Let's go to John 10:10. So the thief comes not but to steal and kill and to destroy. I come that I might have life and that they might have it more abundantly. So who's the thief? Satan. What's his job? To steal, to kill, and to destroy, right? Pretty simple. That first part is talking about Satan and what his job is. And then the second part is Jesus saying, what's his job? To give life that we might have it more abundantly, right? I'm going to kind of go through some more verses, and I'll probably throw them up on the screen so then you can read them and stuff like that. But don't ever take anything spoon-fed, especially from some YouTube guy with spiky hair. So go to Acts 3:15. Jesus is the author of life. James 1:17. Every good and perfect gift is from above. Every good and perfect gift is from above. And now if we go through fast and we say John 14:30, John 16:11, John 12:31, 2 Corinthians 4:4, Ephesians 2:2. It all talks about Satan is the ruler of this world. He's the ruler of this age. He's the ruler of this time period that we're in. We gave it to him when Adam ate from the tree. He took the dominion. But Jesus came to give it back. I might be getting ahead of myself, but I get excited about this stuff. 1 Peter 5:8, Satan is a roaring lion walking around seeking who he may devour. Matthew 4:8 through 9, Satan offered Jesus all the kingdoms of the world. The reason he offered those things is because they were his to offer. Again, I could go on, but I think we get the idea. God is the giver and author of life, and Satan is here to seek, kill, and destroy. It's vital that you understand this, because an area that has plagued the church for years is not understanding God's role and Satan's role in our lives. Um, I'm going to get more into it when we're going to get into Job and everything like that. But we have to understand that God, when he created Adam and Eve, he gave Adam dominion over everything, naming the animals, naming the plants, naming everything. He got to do whatever he wanted. He was given dominion over the earth. It was like, boom, here you go. But when Adam sinned, which I have another interesting study that I'm going to be doing as far as do I really think Adam and Eve actually sinned, or did they become sin? Anyway, that's down the road. We're not talking about that right now. So let me just move forward. All right. So just know that Satan took dominion, took that dominion, took that authority from us as humans, and Jesus came to give us the keys back, give us that dominion back, to make us perfect again, to make us righteous in the eyes of God. So let's go into Job. I'm getting all over the place. I love it. I just get excited and I just want to go over everything, but I gotta stay on track here. Why do we suffer? Okay, so let's talk about Job. So we're gonna go to Job 1, 6 through 12. So specifically Job 1, 11 through 12. It's Satan talking. But put forth thine hand now, and touch all that he hath, and he will curse thee to thy face. And the Lord said unto Satan, Behold, all that he hath is in thy power. So, was it God giving Satan permission? Like, yeah, no, you go for it. You go take all that stuff from Job. Or was God saying that that's your job description? I'm not gonna do it. It's your job description, so to speak. You're the thief. You're the one that steals, kills, and destroys. I'm not doing it, because basically what Satan was trying to do here was he was trying to say, hey, God, why don't you do this stuff to Job? Why don't you take his possessions? You blessed him so much. Why don't you take it? And God's like, that's not me, baby. I give life, and I give it more abundantly. All good things come from me, baby. I'm not the thief. I'm not going to steal, kill, and destroy. So Satan was trying to convince God to be the one that takes those things from Job. And God's like, no, that's your job, man. That isn't my job. All right? So, and so I have it solidified here. So God is not giving Satan permission. Satan already has the power to do that. Satan wanted God to stretch forth his hand and do it, but that isn't God's job description. That's Satan's job, so to speak. We have to understand this. Satan is not going up to heaven every morning to get permission slips from God to send affliction on people. Satan is the ruler of this world, who is a roaring lion, seeking who he can steal, kill, and destroy from, and blind non-believers. Again, if something bad happened to you today, or happens to you today, it wasn't because Satan went up to heaven and said, hey God, I got a fun idea. I'm going to smite this person with cancer, or whatever the case may be. That isn't how it works, man. All right? Okay, so let's continue on in Job here. So, if we go to Job 1:13 through 16, the first messenger came to Job to tell him that his oxen, his asses, and servants were all killed. While he was talking, another messenger came and said, in verse 16, the fire of God is fallen from heaven and hath burned up the sheep. Was it God that sent the fire, or was it their understanding at the time? Who sent the fire? Again, we have to get this, because people have read it wrong for years and thought it was God that sent the fire, right? Let's continue on, and I'll come back to that. So, Job 1:17 through 21. Two more people came to talk about other calamities. In verse 20, Job falls down upon the ground and worshipped. Awesome. Good job, Job. Woo! In verse 21, and said, naked I came out of my mother's womb, and naked shall I return thither. The Lord gave, and the Lord hath taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. Who's had heard that a million times? The Lord giveth, and the Lord taketh away. It's the same question as I asked before. Was it God that took Job's possessions and belongings and blessings? Who took them away? It was Job's understanding at the time. It wasn't what actually happened. All right? So again, we've got to get it. We've got to understand that, it's written down in the Bible, but just because it's written right there, we have to look at the verses around and put ourselves in the situation that Job was in. It was his perception at the time. And later on, when you read in Job, and we'll get into it, you can clearly see that God's saying, like, dude, were you there when I was putting the lines and blah, 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 blah. And it was Job's interpretation. It was the people around him. It was their thought that Job must have done something to upset God. Anyway, we'll get into it more in just a second. So what I want to do is move ahead to the next interaction between God and Satan. So in Job 2:3, and the Lord said to Satan, have you considered my servant Job? For there is no one like him on earth, a blameless and upright man, fearing God and turning away from evil. And he still holds fast his integrity, although you incited me against him to ruin without cause. Well, gosh, that sounds like, Satan got God to do it, right? Well, incite means to turn against, persuade, or mislead, right? Can Satan change the heart of God? Can Satan trick God into doing anything? The answer is no, right? Satan might be smooth to feeble-minded men like us and women, but he can't trick God. He can't trick God into doing anything. So what God is saying here is that even though Job thought that it was God who was doing all of this to him, he still worshipped God in spite of the fact that Satan convinced Job that it was God who was doing all these things against him. We do this all the time. Why did you do this, God? Why did you let this happen? Why did you, make whatever? Why did you make me get into a car accident? Or why did you take my son, Or people even justify it. Well, we need another angel in heaven, or God must have needed another angel. Once you understand this, and really, you know how Satan is. Satan doesn't come around and do stuff obvious, right? He takes the truth, twists it a little bit, tweaks it a little bit. So we have to just tweak it back. We have to understand that it isn't God that's sending calamity to teach us and to grow us spiritually. He uses those things and it helps build endurance and everything like that, like it talks about in like Romans and um, other chapters in the book. Don't have it right in front of me, but it's in there somewhere in that crazy Bible. So anyway, we're going to talk about the next several chapters. Are Job's friends and family telling him to renounce God and to curse God and die? It's God's will, etc., etc. Similar to the way things are in church today. We must have done something to upset God. We must have done something. Must be some unconfessed sin. It must be, I don't know, whatever. God's trying to teach us a lesson. It isn't. We treat God like he's a schizophrenic God. He gives us blessings and then takes them away. He gives us a child and then the child dies, prematurely or whatever the case may be. And, well, it must be God's will. God gives and takes away. And, that is not God. That is not God. He's not giving us blessings and taking them away. The only thing he gave and took away was he gave his son to take away our sins. Yay! Let me give you another example of that it was Satan and not God. So in Job 2, 4 through 7, Satan answered to the Lord and said, "Skin for skin. Yes, all that a man has he will give for his life. However, put forth your hand now and touch his bone and flesh. He will curse you to your face." So the Lord said to Satan, "Behold, he is in your power. Only spare his life." So then Satan went out of the presence of the Lord and smote Job with sores, boils from the sole of his foot to the crown of his head. So again, God says, "Behold, he is in your power." We talked about this before. He is in Satan's power. Satan wanted God to put forth his hand. He wanted God to do it. By God saying he's in your power, he isn't giving Satan permission. Satan doesn't need it. God, is saying that I'm not going to do that. It's not my job. That isn't what I do. I bless. I give. I love. I don't smote people with boils. I don't do it. That's you. That's your thing, man. And then again in verse 7 there it says, "And Satan went out of the presence and smote Job." Who smote Job? Job. Who smote Job? Satan. So if we fast forward to chapters 38 and 39 in Job, God comes in with a bunch of rhetorical questions, essentially showing his sovereignty. Not only that, but all good things that are on this earth are what he created. He creates good with intricacy and power. Job 42:7, "And it was so that after the Lord has spoken these words unto Job, that the Lord said to Eliphaz and Temite, My wrath is kindled against thee, and against thy two friends, for you have not spoken me the things that is right, as my servant Job hath." Job's friend accused Job of having unconfessed sin. You must have sin, brother, or else this stuff wouldn't be happening to you. Have you ever heard that in church? God is showing his wrath because of your sin. He isn't. He isn't. Listen, the thing that we have to understand, and I have to not convince myself, I have to remember this time and time again. Is there anything that I can do to make God love me any less? No. Is there anything I could do to make God love me anymore? No. Is there anything I could do to disappoint God? No. Is there anything I could do to just is there anything that I could do to change God's mind about me? No. God loves us unconditionally. He sees us as perfect children. There's nothing that we can do to gain extra love. There's nothing that we can do to lose love. Now, again, you can go to that whole Paul thing. Well, does that mean we can sin and let grace abound? Certainly not. No, we're not. We're not. When you give your life to the Lord and you truly become a changed creation, 2 Corinthians 5:17, you know, what you want to do isn't sin anymore. What you want to do is you want to live life and live in joy and peace and love, and you want to live for the Lord. And when calamity happens, Job's a really good example. Although his understanding was a little wrong, but his heart was right, and that's why God kind of put him on a pedestal, so to speak, and said, "Have you considered my servant Job?" Is because Job had the right mindset. He had the right heart. He understood that loving the Lord was the end all be all, and that if calamity came, it didn't matter. You worship the Lord. When good things happen, you worship the Lord. When neutral things happen, you worship the Lord. The bottom line is you worship the Lord. You give him praise and thanks for everything that he has done and that he is doing, and the blessings and everything. And when you're walking in that, when you're walking in that joy and peace, then when the calamity comes, you're a house built on a good foundation. Because guess what? The rain's gonna come. The rain's gonna come. Whether you're worshiping the Lord and you're in your word every single day and you're praying and studying and everything, or if you're not, it doesn't matter. Calamity is going to come, but it's how we see that calamity, how we see the opportunity to grow in that, how we see that opportunity to grow in the Lord. And with that, there's a preacher that says it all the time. Every time Satan comes at us and attacks us, he's taking the risk of pushing us closer to the Lord. It's because when bad stuff happens, or when sin presents itself, or whatever the case may be, it's an opportunity to push us closer to the Lord. And so I just encourage you guys with that. So I just want to go over a couple other things here. We're not saved by our actions. We're saved by God's grace and his love. He sent his son because he loves us, and we can accept the free gift. So again, it's a free gift. If we start putting strings to it and saying that, well, if we're bad, then God's going to send this stuff. If we're good, then he's not going to send this stuff. And, if we start putting strings to it, then it's not a free gift anymore, right? Then it's a gift with strings attached. And that isn't why Jesus died on the cross for us. He died on the cross because he loves us, because he wanted to give us this gift. And there's no strings attached to the gift. And when you worship the Lord and you're giving him thanks and loving him and everything, you're doing that not because you're seeking anything other than you're just grateful and thankful for everything that he's done for us. And woo! Anyway, that's pretty cool. So listen, Matthew 7:24 through 27, build a strong foundation so when the rain comes, because it will, your house or your walk won't collapse. I mean, that's what it's all about. That's why getting in the Word and prayer and time with the Lord is so important, because, you want to run the good race. You don't want to falter. You don't want to grow weary. All those verses, and I'm sure I can pop them up there on the screen somewhere. But guys, just thank you for listening, and just tweak your thinking. Listen to this again if you need to. But it's all about tweaking our thinking. Tweaking our thinking. Sounded smoother before. Listen, I love you guys. Leave comments. Let me know what you think. If there's any questions that you have, if you're like, wait, this doesn't make sense, or you didn't go over this very clearly, let me know. And I can either make another video or I can respond to you in the comments. Love you guys. Peace.